Morning, Mitch. See, there's
Damn,
snow in the background
Joe,
there. Looks like you're hammering down.
we're cruising. We're in South Dakota right now. We're road warrioring it, out meeting with ethanol plants, working on the offtake side of CI here this week. So building things from both sides here, right?
That's right. That's right. Snowmageddon 24. It's not going to stop us.
We
I'm
ain't
hoping
waiting.
the fight isn't careful.
CI's too big of a deal, Chad.
That's
We
right.
can't stop for nothing.
Planes, trains, automobiles. Thanks for joining
That's
us
what.
this morning. It looks like we're getting everything fired up. Quite a few folks on the other side of this thing, so we'll get things fired up. Keep everybody in step. So, welcome to CI Chit Chat. Chad Siebel, Mitchell Hora. I think this is episode number 8. Keep those questions coming in. I think we've got another handful of good questions that came in from the audience. I think one of the cool things is we can always go as deep as we want to go, but we stay high level too with some of the questions. So no matter what your question is, don't be afraid to ask it. You got it as we start chatting here. Put it in the function here and send us a message here. But just quick review questions, Mitch. A lot of people want to know, what is carbon intensity, right? Every unit or every
Yep.
piece of energy that goes into production of a bushel of corn or any bushel of grain, that's what we're going to talk about today. How do we address that? How do we attach that then to the bushels to be able to get rewards? So we'll talk about number one is visibility. How do we get visibility using carbon intensity? How do we take control of our data? Number two. And then number three, how do we gain access to some of those rewards? And I know, Mitch, you and Petra are up north trying to talk to some of the biofuel companies. So that'll be fun to kind of address here. The other thing is, again, we talk about visibility being the primary thing with the CI score. How do we get certified? We talked about that a little bit, but we'll talk how that specifically impacts our ability to take control and then where are those rewards at. So I know that's usually a question as we dig deeper into the weeds. Maybe two more little quick kind of summary kind of bubble questions that we get is why us working with farmers by farmers. This is a software that really puts not only you in control of it, but it also lets you use your data in a digital format where you can actually keep it in a wallet and use it at times when other opportunities come available. And we've seen some of those come available to some of our producers today. A secure third party independent where it's not actually just kind of in the atmosphere. It's secured and able to be brought out of your wallet, so to speak, and used by you from time to time. Um, why carbon intensity and why carbon intensity now? Maybe this is the last one I kind of wanted to firm up. The demand for low carbon intensity corn or low carbon intensity grains is all over the place right now. So if you look at the marketplace, a lot of conversation revolves around now is the time, right? Now a lot of this data attaching that data to the production to your production creates this low CI grain, and it's in huge demand for the marketplace. So with that,
Chad,
Mitch,
Chad, I want to double tap into that one there real quick because I think
yeah,
that's spot on and a great kind of a great thing to jump in on here for this meeting early January 2024. My blog that I put out last week was about how 2024 is the year of CI. And it's amazing to me to see people realizing that, holy crap, 24 is here. We've got to figure out the CI thing on the farmer side, the dealer side, and especially from my perspective, on the biofuel manufacturer side. And they are hitting us up left and right. Really exciting stuff. And having these meetings, we've got to build the off takes, right? We got to make sure that the marketplace is going to be there, that the biofuel folks are educated about the farmers being part of their solution, and knowing that they can work with folks like Continuum Ag to have a consistent, easily digestible source of that CI data. But very interesting that everyone is waking up to this. Folks, keep in mind, we're waiting for the final guidance from the IRS about the tax credit rules. We don't know when those are going to be here, but the tax credit is due to start on Jan 1, 2025. We're less than 365 days away. 366 here this year, I guess. We got a leap year, right? We got that. So, uh, but less than a year away. And that means this crop that we are growing this year is going into that biofuel. It is time to get this rolling. And you're sitting here in the right spot to be in position to win. So
that's right,
let's
man.
go from there.
Yeah, carbon intensity is not going away. That's for sure. It's the year of carbon intensity. Good, well said. Question coming in from Hardy, Iowa. Mr. John, what is the average CI score for an Iowa farm? What's kind of the range that we've seen? So I'll let you talk about that one here in just a second, but I can tell you, John, the average CI score in our system today is 8. For those that maybe remember have been a part of some of the things that we've talked about in the past, 29.1 is the national score, the national average score of corn. So for us to have in our system today an average score of 8 is pretty impressive. The average CI score for an ethanol plant across the state of Iowa is 55.5. What John's asking, Mitch, is what is the average CI score of an Iowa farmer if you had a range?
Well, so yeah, that 8 is where we're coming out as of Continuum Ag farmers. Now, obviously, we've got a lot of, we've got folks all throughout the entire spectrum there. We've got anywhere up from, I think I've seen plus 44 to we just announced our this year's Dirty Glove Award winners, Ryan Yoder or Ryan Oberman and Lane Yoder, a couple local guys we've been working with for a couple of years. Their CI score this year is negative 15. They've got cover crop, no-till, and hog manure. They're down in southeast Iowa, kind of the Iowa City area. So a score of negative 15. We did have one of our guys down in Missouri that came in. He was like negative 35 or something like that.
Right.
That's a legit like score, but there's obviously some stuff a little funky going on there in terms of the GREET model. We got to look into that a little bit more before we start making too big of claims about farmers having scores like negative 35. I think it was a bit of an anomaly. But anyway, range being from plus 44 to minus 15, average of 8, and anything better than plus 29 is good because the default is 29 and 29 and change. It's county by county based, but we talk 29 here on the show. So 29, anything better than that is good. And our average farmer has a score of 8. At 20, that's good. What 21 point difference on your biofuel production. That is worth real money and a real opportunity. But we got to get more farmers with that visibility of what their number is, more farmers in control of that data so that they are sitting there ready for the rewards.
Yep. Good question, John. I think I'll maybe piggyback on that a little bit. I'm in Iowa as well on our farm, and I'm at a 16.2. Mitch is at a negative 4. Right. There's a range there too. I'm not doing a lot of the things from a cover crop. I think we're fairly optimized on nutrients. But I think I want to outline something here because that brings up another question that gets asked a lot. It's not on the chit chat, but you can't just compare what I do in Southwest Iowa versus what somebody in North Dakota does, or what somebody in Minnesota does, or what somebody in Minnesota or Missouri does. And the reason for that, John, is the GREET model is attached per county. So it's looked at, that algorithm is looked at per county. So I guess just don't generically say, well, hey, John's in Iowa, in Hardy, Iowa. He gets a CI score, he's, let's say, at a 16. It could be that in Missouri, he could be in the negatives. If he's up in North Dakota, it could be at 20. So it is specific per county. So just so as you know, as you're looking at that kind of range changes per county.
That's a great point, Chad. And keep in mind, like really, it's going to be your grain in comparison to other folks in your geography, right? That grain, for the most part, that grain is only going to move so far in those local marketplaces, whether it be going to the elevator or going to the ethanol plant. And so really it's just how can you be better than the default for your geography? That's what it boils down to.
All right, here's another one coming from Bemidji, Minnesota. It is an interesting question. I understand half of it. I might need you on the other half of this thing here. But this is coming from Jason. Where does biological carbon storage fit in? And I'm going to choose something a little bit different. I'm going to talk about certainly where does biologicals come in, right? And I'll talk about nitrogen use and how that can optimize scores. But Mitch, maybe I'll leave you on the biological carbon storage. Where does that fit in?
Yeah. I mean, right now it doesn't necessarily, right? So we're not directly quantifying the soil carbon or the soil biology. There's tools like the Haney test where you can do that, but as far as directly associated with CI, it actually just boils down to the GREET model and the GREET score, not necessarily the soil data. So where it does come in though, those biological products or stabilizers, if you use those things or you're improving your soil biology, you're likely going to be able to reduce your synthetic fertilizer or improve your yield, or maybe a combo of both. And reducing your fertilizer and improving your yield both improve your CI score. So in a roundabout way, improving your soil biology, improve soil function, soil efficiencies, and allowing for you to optimize those nutrients, maybe cut back a little bit, but also drive those positive yield outcomes and see a CI score improvement.
Yeah, perfect. And that plays right into Jeff's question here to Central Iowa. Reduction, he says optimization of fertilizer or nutrient optimization. If I reduce 25 pounds of nitrogen in MAP or FOS, what does that do to my CI score? It's a question we get fairly often, and not just from folks that are using biologicals. I think you see a lot of university studies out there that talk about using a 1.1 nitrogen to yield, right? A bushel of corn, 1 to 1 to 1.1. And so I think what we're seeing is folks know that in that saturated environment, we don't see as the ability for that corn to potentially grow quite as optimally. And so nutrient optimization, Mitch, I'm going to throw this one up. I'm going to tee it up for you, a little soft toss. Reducing or optimizing nutrients, what does that do to the CI score?
Yeah, so it improves it. So think of this as, like Chad talks at the very beginning, all the energy going into that bushel of corn would include all that fertilizer energy, the fertilizer, the fuel, the inputs. So if you reduce the inputs, then you're reducing the footprint of each bushel. Also, if you improve the number of bushels coming off, you spread those inputs across more bushels and lower the footprint per bushel. I think of it as all the inputs are on the numerator side of the equation divided by the yield, the denominator. So you can reduce the numerator or improve the denominator and see an improved score.
Yep, that's good. We see it a lot, and I think I'd challenge you all to where you get your CI score is the question that came in. Going to topsoil.ag. You can go on for $500, get that CI score. Make sure you're attaching your billion bushel challenge team to that as well to be able to get credit for your state and for that team. But you can see that score. You can see and adjust with a CI calculator. So it'll allow you to say, let's say you're using 200 pounds of anhydrous, which is 82% nitrogen, maybe it's 170 pounds of N. You can actually reduce that in the calculator and showcase what that would do for a score. Most of the time when we do that in the calculator, it's anywhere from a point to 1.5 points. And so the value to that will be showcased, again, in form of a tax credit on that calculator as well. So I'd say somewhere, specifically to that question, Jeff, 25 pounds of N, 25 pounds of P, if you're fully optimized and you're reducing that on that calculator, anywhere from 0.9 to 1.5 points is what we've seen depending on the county. So good question. Another question that came in here. Yep, go ahead.
No, that's what I was gonna say. At Topsoil, you can see your score and then see how you can improve it, right? Like, and that's what I think part of our role is here. We took that GREET model and I call it reverse engineered it to make it easier for farmers to figure out how to set up for success here. So yeah, good stuff there. Check it out, topsoil.ag.
All right, so this one's coming in. How do I get paid? Right, so perfect timing.
Yeah.
So we've got, I think you've got a friend with you in the car today. You guys are out going to talk to biofuel companies about, hey, what do we do today on CI scoring, and how do you and your colleague here, Miss Petra, how do you actually go into the marketplace? And yeah, so let me introduce her. Petra is working with us as the VP of Strategic Accounts, working with biofuel companies to be able to, I guess I would call it, model out the valuation of a 45Z tax credit versus some of the other things that are in the marketplace. Putting you on the spot a little bit as you put your life in the hands of Mitchell driving and doing the CI Chit. dangerous world.
In the snow.
But what makes you most excited about what you're seeing in the marketplace as far as farmers getting paid and using this 45Z in the marketplace? What makes you most excited about where you're at?
Yeah. So the pathway for farmers to have a direct access to some sort of uplift for their practices for regenerative agriculture has not been possible. So that substantive carrot for farmers, not to make an allusion to agriculture directly, but that carrot has not existed for whether we're talking about soil carbon or CI score that, as we've talked about, directly feeds into the CI score. So when we talk about the buy side and the offtake, they're very eager, and they see this as a path that will not just expire in 2027, but rather substantiate the path for farmers to have permanent. Basically, right now we're looking at the floor and we're saying, okay, if the ethanol plant is below 50, we can monetize that. And then of course the corn going into that. But after 2027, we think that it will become a much more permanent path for biofuel and for growers to be part of the solution. So I'm just excited that we're finally seeing farmers part of the conversation with biofuel. And this is a real, like, this is real money. I love every time we're in a meeting, Mitch references that. He's like, this is not just change. This is not chump change. Yeah, this is real money. So, and growing the pie, as you increase acreage, it's actually, the more farmers we get going into the same biofuel, it helps everyone. So rising tides raise all ships, Chad.
Yeah. I like it. Well, that's a great point too. So when you think about it, I'm first off, welcome to the team, and we love to have you. And in your perspective in this world, she comes from the fields, right, of the oil fields where you see a lot of these tax credits and biofuel. So she knows the game really well. I'm going to tie into a question though, Mitch. Maybe you can help out here. I don't have biofuel facilities close by, but I have four-legged animals. So Mr. Brandon's talking about, great, all my corn goes to dairy. We chop or combine for high moisture corn to feed cows. Why does my CI score matter? And, like what Petra was just talking about here is, how do we pay farmers? I'll go high level here, but I think that's why I'm excited about it, right? Because even though biofuel is the short-term goal to get paid, I think what Petra was just saying there too is we look at the whole collective as we get into the marketplace and can score corn in general, our four-legged friends to low carbon meats, low carbon, the terminology for high moisture corn. I think you're going to see all this stuff eventually have its own program. Today, I think we talk about being really bullish, right, Mitch, and the opportunity for these things to expand into the markets. But maybe if you want to touch on that one real quick.
I think just to expand on what Pedro was just saying too, we met, we're out meeting with biofuel companies, and not for them to hire us. Biofuel companies don't hire Continuum Ag. Farmers are our customer and hire Continuum Ag. And but we bring farmers to the table and help these biofuel companies kind of herd the cats, so to say. They know that they have to work with farmers in 45Z. They know that the farmers provide a massive opportunity, but they don't know how to work with hundreds of farmers that they're buying grain from. And sometimes they buy grain not directly from those farmers, but through the elevator. So wrangling the data, they're seeing as just too cumbersome of a task. And that's where Continuum comes in to help farmers get their scores, to control that data. The farmers, provide the financing to get certified. And then those farmers, they're ready to provide that low carbon grain to the ethanol plant. And the ethanol plant, their takeaway was, hey, we know that there's going to be money here. We don't have the final rules yet. So we can't really start putting in any money into this. We can't start buying these bushels from farmers, whether it be physically or on contract, until we get the IRS rules. But we don't know when those rules are going to come out. So from the farmer side, we got to start with the chicken and the egg. And we got to start with the egg. We got to start with the farmers, get those scores, and be ready. But what was very interesting is the CEO of this ethanol has 3 locations. We met with the CEO and the CFO, and he's like, he was talking about how, we were telling him our approach is we're going to go and help farmers get their scores, just like we're talking here. Farmers, we need to be getting your scores and getting on CI certifications so that your scores are legit and verified. And we're like, hey, hopefully this all happens with 45Z, and everybody here is going to make great money, and this is going to be awesome. And if not, I bet you there's going to be some other markets for low carbon pork. Low carbon dairy has already pledged to be carbon neutral by 2050, low carbon everything else. And what was great is that the CEO of this ethanol plant said, yep, you're so right. He's like, people will definitely buy that low carbon product, even if we can't do it directly here at the ethanol plant, or can't do it for these big dollars. So very encouraging. Even these ethanol CEOs are recognizing this is going to go beyond biofuels and go beyond just being tax credits.
You picked up a couple of the questions here in the chat unintentionally, but it was a great listen. I'm telling you right now. So Tom's asking here, how do we monetize low CI corn on the farm today? You hit it right. That is exactly it. Being able to actually take our marketplace, whatever it is, wherever we're at, whether it's four-legged friends or today in biofuels, we can actually monetize that through this 45Z tax credit. Going on to TopSoil.ag,
So we want
actually showcase that CI score and actually put a value or a number to that, where before we couldn't do that. The other piece of the equation here too. So sorry, Mitch, you're freezing a bit. You might want to hop off of video.
There we go.
Go ahead, Mitch.
Sorry, I'm too excited, Chad. as you know, I guess sometimes. Okay, so what was very interesting in our conversation with these guys yesterday, and what's continuing to happen in these biofuel company chats is that they know that they're going to need to buy this corn and get farmer data in, but they're worried about participation. So they're going to be throwing out small carrots. And we're seeing a lot of those pilot projects right now, right? Anywhere from a couple pennies a bushel, maybe up to 15 pennies a bushel. That's great, and might as well. But they know that they will pay a higher percentage of the tax credit for certified bushels, or bushels that have legit data behind them and already passed through verification. And that's exactly where we fit to make sure that our farmers have verified scores. And that's where you're going to be able to be sitting kind of first in line to get paid a higher percentage of that profit share. Now, none of the money, I don't believe any money will be exchanged until the corn is delivered. Okay, so when you deliver the bushels across and they go across the scale, that's when you get paid for the bushels and for the data. But I think there will be maybe some corn being put on contract, and getting sold on contract. But I don't think there'll be a lot of movement though until we get the IRS rules, and we don't know when that'll be. So step one is get your score, get your data put together to be first in line.
There you go, right there, right? That's a great summary on exactly what we're talking about. There's a couple in here too that I want to make sure I get to here in the next 5 to 7 minutes. But essentially, again, we get really deep in the weeds here, but the first step in all of this is at least get your CI score. Know what you're doing today is more valuable than what you're probably getting paid in the marketplace. It'll give you some opportunity to leverage what your data is worth. So make sure you're getting the visibility. Taking control of that would be that second part, which is getting certified and then accessing those rewards. So really quickly go down into accessing rewards before we even get visibility. I think that's an important piece. Let me jump into a couple questions here, Mitch, just so we can address a few of the questions we've got quite a few on the chat here. So Russ is asking, and I think this is an interesting question too. Do we see this becoming somewhat of a standard compared to some of the other things like around soil health? Do we see carbon intensity becoming more of a standard measurement? And then if so, does it compete, or does it complement some of the other standards in the industry?
Yeah, I think this will be added on, right? So we've got standards around what corn test weight is supposed to be, what the moisture is. I think this will be the same type of thing. We're a long way away from it being like a standard that you have to meet or you get docked. I think we're a ways away from that, but I do see having a score, whether it be carbon or water quality or biodiversity, those scores are definitely going to continue to be expanded. A good point in the chat here from Michael as well about, hey, these rules, it might be a long time before the rules come out. And that pushes us even more that we got to have this data in order, and we better be collecting more data than the minimum, which is what we do here at Continuum Ag. We don't just collect, did you plant a cover crop? We collect, when did you plant it? How did you plant it? What rate, what species, how did you terminate? Because as these rules take more time to be developed, we're going to need to make sure that our data is the most robust out there. So we've got more certainty, and basically what'll happen is, there might be some money to be passed along to farmers as the rules come out, and then as they get adjusted, tax credits could be amended. Your tax returns could be amended, and things could be settled up.
Absolutely. Sounds like you cut out a little bit there, Mitch. I'll jump in until you get back.
Fuel.
There you
go. And yeah, there was sorry, did I drop for a bunch of that?
Yeah, maybe try to stay to like a 1 minute answer so that we can make sure that your voice is staying with us here. But Essentially, there's
All
another
right,
question.
too much stuff. Too much stuff.
There's another question that came in the marketplace or in the chat here. The marketplace is changing constantly. The GREET model was just updated. And so actually this week it was just updated. How does that adjust, or how do we see that changing or adjusting our CI scores that we have today? So I'll answer high level and let you chime in here on the backside of it. But essentially, Mitch, with a CI score, think about it like a SIM card. You got a phone, you've got that card that comes in and out. We digest that GREET algorithm. When and if and when it adjusts, we can actually pull that SIM card out, put in that new algorithm, and spit out that same number. Even though, looks like Michael's question, that was Michael. Even though that GREET model changed, we didn't see it really move up or down a lot of the current scores. Maybe if they were, it was like 0.2, 0.3 points, not huge swings. But we did see that update changed a lot of the soybean algorithm. So that was a question that came up too, is, I have a crush facility close to me. Are we able to get CI score for soybean? The answer is yes. And in fact, that GREET model changed and actually shows very favorable for that CI score. So Mitch, anything to add on that?
No, that's exactly right. That actual GREET model into TopSoil. We are directly in communication with the Argonne National Labs, so excited to work closer with them and make sure that all of the farmers in TopSoil have the most accurate and up-to-date score. Anytime those scores are reran and updated, you'll be notified. If you've already gotten your score, you've already gotten it, paid for and unlocked, you'll be notified anytime those scores update, and make sure that you your most accurate score possible to get paid and be ready to go.
That's right. Time for a couple more here. So Mr. Paul, great question. Are you seeing any signs that big foods or like CPGs that are willing to actually pay premiums for low CI ingredients? And I think some of the examples I'll use here is like cotton for jeans, like potatoes for potato chips, peanuts for candy bars, right? We've got a lot of those type of questions. I'll let Mitch answer since we've got him in good spot here, but do we see any type of signs that those premiums will be paid for low CI ingredients, Mitch?
Yeah, I think it's for sure going to happen. And that's, again, why we're so bullish. We saw Mars already make announcements about sourcing based on CI, and hearing multiple others as well asking for CI scores. Think of it as, their way to better document their carbon footprint. They thought that they were going to buy carbon credits and things like that, but if they could just buy low carbon product coming off the farm, puts them in position to have a lower footprint as a company.
Yeah, good question. I think I'll use this last couple minutes here to maybe highlight our team Nebraska and what's going on in the state, and then maybe it gives some of the folks on the line to kind of feel empowered to do kind of some of the same things. Working with some folks like Brandon Honeycutt, Rorik Paulman, Nick Glazer, Brian Dunlap, some of these influencers in the state that are actually going out there saying, hey, we're not going to wait around for some of these things to happen, Mitch. We're going to go out and actually work with stakeholders across 93 states in the state of Nebraska. Big thing there is beef, #1 beef state, irrigators, one of the top irrigation states, so water, and then guess what? Corn, right? CI score for corn. We look at those three things. They've went out and said they're going to get these farmers together to go out and at least get a CI score for 50% of the corn bushels that are being grown this year. And what that does is it puts them in control and actively says, we're not going to wait for folks to tell us what to do. And some of the questions that came here too, is it a year out? Is it here? What does it look like? Waiting probably puts us in a position to be told to what you have to do. I think what the Nebraska farmers coming together like this, again, the beef guys, there's stakeholders in every one of the states, the water, the irrigators, and then so you got your cowboys, you got your cattlemen, you got your corn growers, and then you got your irrigators all coming together saying we're going to proactively score our corn production this year. I think that's pretty unique. We've seen that in other states. I know our friend Scott says, listen, I won't pick on what county he's in, but in Iowa saying, hey, we're going to be the first net carbon neutral corn state, and I'm going to lead that charge. So that is the empowerment that Mitch and I are trying to inspire, is farmers need to take control of what the marketplace is giving us and not wait for somebody to tell us what we have to do. So anything else on that, maybe to kind of put a little
No, I love it. To Michael's point in the chat here, we don't know when the IRS rules are going to come out. But as farmers, we can't wait. We got to get these scores put together now and at least have some idea of where we are. And that's why we're trying to empower those farmers. But our buddies up here in North Dakota arranged the meeting with the ethanol plant, and we went to North Dakota to go meet with the CEO and CFO. Like, we want to help you guys have those conversations with the biofuel plants. We want to be able to help bring together some strength in numbers so that they know that the farmers are ready to roll and ready to be part of the solution. We can work on this together and help to grow the pie where they can make good money, farmers can make good money, and our rural economies can have those dollars going back into them, getting those taxpayer dollars back into middle America, and strengthen agriculture and strengthen American energy production. So I think it's a pretty cool opportunity. Definitely feel free to loop us in whenever you need our help. And exciting year ahead here, Chad. Another fun chat here. We'll keep on rolling.
Absolutely, man. We'll do it again next week. Thanks all for your questions. Remember, if you don't get it into the chat during the meeting, you can actually send them in ahead of time. Those are usually easier for us to queue up, but we love the interaction. One shameless plug I'll throw out in the market. I've got another chat here. We'll hit that one for next time. One shameless plug here is make sure you're actually looking at the dealership opportunities too. If you're in the marketplace and you know a lot of growers, and it doesn't matter if you're a small mom and pop, it doesn't matter if you're a very large company with multiple dealer, plugged into you, so dealer networks. We've looked at everything from some of the biggest input suppliers down to the mom and pops for our dealer network to be able to kind of showcase this. So reach out to us. Let us know if we can help out. Yet again, we'll do it again next Tuesday. Thanks a lot for your time, y'all. Be safe out there, Mitch. Petra, don't let him stay between those yellow lines.